All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to break down what happens when a super passionate community of online racers kicks off their new season and literally everything that can go wrong does. This is the wild story of the Blurry Motorsports Racing League's premiere at a virtual Indianapolis. And that right there is how it all started. That's the voice of the league's host, just buzzing with energy, trying to kick off what was supposed to be this big, triumphant start to their third season. And honestly, that little bit of chaos is the perfect preview for everything that was about to go down.
So you gotta understand, this wasn't just some random race. This was the opening round. The whole community was hyped. The stakes felt incredibly high, and as we're about to see, the potential for a complete meltdown was just simmering right under the surface.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we've got our main contenders for the championship, a couple of drivers named Tomcat and Sunny, who pretty much everyone is expecting to be the guys to beat. You know, the race host himself really said it best, this line. It was meant to build up all the excitement, but it ended up being this perfect, totally unintentional prophecy for the entire night. He had no clue how right he was about to be. Now, here's what's so wild about this whole thing. The trouble? It didn't even wait for the race to start. Nope. The very first signs that this was going to be a catastrophic night popped up during the pre-race practice session. And of course, every single eye was on the league's titans, Sunny and Tomcat. These two have a history, right? So everyone tuning in expected them to just set the pace and start battling for the win from the word go. And then this happens. The two main rivals, the guys everyone is watching, get into this massive, spectacular crash. The host is just floored. You can hear him talking about how violent and just terrifying the wreck was. I mean, this is your main event, and it's happening in practice. So the really crucial thing here isn't just the crash itself, it's the reaction. Yeah, the top two drivers are totally wrecked, but the host is laughing his head off and the drivers are in the chat immediately trading jokes and blaming each other. It's treated more like a comedy skit than a catastrophe, and that really sets the tone for the rest of the night. The chaos just kept on rolling right into qualifying. You had drivers arguing, messing with the on-screen timing board. It was a mess. But somehow, out of all that, a surprise driver named Mika snags the pole position, which just adds another layer of who knows what's going to happen before the race even begins. But look, if you thought the practice session was messy, the moment that green flag dropped for the actual race, things went from bad to immediate, total disaster. Lap 1. We are not even a full lap into the brand new season, and a championship contender, Sunny, is literally upside down on the track. The race immediately grinds to a halt under the first of what would be many yellow flags. And it wasn't just driver error, you know? A huge factor was the car setup itself. So in these leagues, they often use what's called a fixed setup to keep things fair. Everybody's driving the exact same car. Well, this particular setup was apparently super unstable and nearly impossible to race close to anyone. One driver put it perfectly. My car drives like shit, to be honest. They were fighting their own cars out there, and you could feel the frustration just building and building. All right, now we get to the turning point. This is where simple racing incidents blow up into a full-blown controversy over the rules and fairness, bringing the whole event to a screeching halt. As the race goes on, a really serious question starts to bubble up from the other drivers. It seems like one competitor, a driver named Loki, has an unfair, maybe even an impossible speed advantage. And look, this wasn't just a feeling. It was based on the data. You had most of the field topping out around 205 miles per hour, but Loki was supposedly hitting 209. In racing, 4 miles per hour is an eternity. That's a massive difference, and it immediately sparked accusations of a speed hack. The accusations just get too serious to ignore. The host has to make the call to stop the race completely, a red flag, so they can investigate the potential cheating. The whole event is now officially in crisis mode. So the race is stopped. All they have to do is get organized and restart cleanly. Simple, right? Absolutely not. Let's watch how this thing spirals into a complete and total meltdown. Okay, check this out. First, the drivers just can't line up in the right order. It's just a mess. Then somebody exits their car, which in this particular racing sim is a known issue that can break the game's timing system for everyone. To fix it, everyone has to get out and rejoin, but one driver, K7, just flat out refuses, bringing everything to a dead stop. And in this quote, you can just hear the absolute peak of the host's frustration. I mean, he is desperately trying to get control back, but he's getting hit with technical failures on one side and just straight up defiance from a driver on the other. When they finally do get racing again, it's just bizarre. That same defiant driver, K7, at one point just parks his car backwards on the track. Then the race just ends abruptly. The lap counter seems totally broken, and nobody has any idea who actually won. So the host, he eventually declares these as the final results, with the controversial driver, Loki Killer, taking the win. But the finish was so confusing and so muddled that the result itself just felt, well, it felt almost meaningless. And the final piece of absurdity came during the victory celebration. A game glitch made the winning drivers totally invisible, leaving the poor host alone on the track trying to take a podium screenshot while talking to people he literally could not see. It was just a perfectly bizarre end to the night. In the end, this is how the host summed it all up. A premiere that started with so much hope and just devolved into pure frustration and complete exhaustion.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It really makes you wonder, in these passionate, amateur communities, is a perfectly run competition even the main point? Or is it the drama, the technical failures, the arguments, and the sheer unscripted chaos? Is that the real show? Something to think about.